Porn Brain Reboot and Dopamine Detox. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. Let's talk about dopamine fasting. Okay, in this video, we're going to talk about the role that dopamine plays in, first of all, a pornography habit and a masturbation habit. Number two, why you would want to do a dopamine detox or dopamine fasting. And number three, is it healthy? And number four, your brain tip, what could you do instead? Okay, number one, what's the deal with dopamine and what's the role it plays in terms of pornography consumption? When you watch pornography, and especially if it's coupled with masturbation, what happens is your brain gets a flood or a deluge of dopamine. It gets more dopamine than your brain can get from any other activity that exists in the real world. It's called the cardboard butterfly effect, and it's based on a scientific study that shows that it's a super normal stimulus. And if you want to look that up, it's cool. I'm not going to describe it here, but the cardboard butterfly effect is that when butterflies were colored to be artificially bright, they attracted mates more than actual butterflies. And basically, the same thing happens in pornography when you're seeing these intense scenes that don't exactly exist, not that they should, in the real world. Then what happens is your brain gets this super normal stimulus, this massive flood of dopamine. So the role that dopamine plays in a pornography habit or addiction is that your brain gets hooked on this massive level of dopamine that can't be found anywhere else. And it creates the need in your brain to go back for more and more and more dopamine. And it's actually twofold in that there's an A and a B effect. So when you're watching porn, there's this massive flood of dopamine. That's effect A. Then we know from the neuroscience that for up to a week after a pornography session, your brain actually produces lower levels of dopamine, which is why you can have a flat line when you start coming off the sauce, or when you start leaving your pornography habit behind. You can have a flat line because dopamine goes even lower and cortisol goes higher. So the B effect is that you have even lower levels of those feel-good neurotransmitters and higher levels of the stress neurotransmitters. So what that does is existing in your life becomes even less pleasurable and more painful because of less of the pleasure neurochemicals and more of the stress neurochemicals, which makes you go back even earlier for more and more frequent and consistent, and usually with growing intensity, pornography, because your brain needs more and more dopamine to feel okay. So that's dopamine and its role in pornography. What is a dopamine detox or dopamine fasting? There's actually an article, you can Google it, on the Harvard website that says that it is a fad, a maladaptive fad that is being imposed by people who don't understand the science. So the science behind it would be that you don't want to do anything that produces dopamine because you want to detox. You want to teach your nervous system not to need dopamine. But the reality is, our nervous systems need dopamine and they need serotonin to feel good. Those are motivators that get us up and get us into the world when they're healthy. Right now, it's probably getting you up and getting you back to the screen because that's where it's getting the dopamine. But a better idea than detoxing completely or fasting from anything that would be dopamine producing in your world is to rewire your brain so that it's getting the dopamine and the serotonin, the happiness neurotransmitter, on top of the pleasure neurotransmitter. It's getting that from your life. What a novel concept, right? So creating a life that you love in your work, in your relationships, and in your hobbies all become brain boosting activities. So when I'm working on these videos for you, I love to do it. It's my purpose. I want to be able to teach you how to become the best version of yourself. This is my passion. I am here for it. It gives me the perfect amount of dopamine and serotonin while I'm making the videos and while I'm posting them. This is good for me. This is my purpose. It's the perfect amount of dopamine. I'm not rushing my system with so much dopamine that there's a B effect. I'm giving myself consistent amounts of dopamine across my day because I do work that I love, and then I go hang out with my peeps, All my kids are around, so after I get done, I'll go down, we'll make lunch together. Somebody will do something weird, we'll laugh, we'll enjoy each other. Laughing produces dopamine and serotonin. Being together, we'll hug each other. I'll play hoops with my son Seamus. I will likely lose like I did yesterday. It was total trash game. I know what you're thinking. Where do we play basketball? Yes, I've allowed us to put one of those mini hoops directly in our kitchen. So while we're making lunch, we can also play basketball. Super fun, super dopamine and serotonin producing. I encourage you to do things like that. Then I'll come back, I'll do more work, I'll be on purpose. Then I'll go for a run, I'll give my brain a nice shot of cardio, dopamine, serotonin, all those epinephrine, all those good neurochemicals will start flowing. Then I'll do some more work. Then I'll make dinner with my peeps again. Then I'll hang out. My day is filled with dopamine producing activities at the right level, optimal levels, mixed in the perfect neurochemical cocktail, not just a massive flood of dopamine, and that's not taking that balance into account. That is what you want to do instead of a dopamine detox. Create a life that gives you dopamine across your life in terms of your work, your play, and your peeps. Okay, so what's the brain tip? That's it. I want you to think about your life and think about how much time you spend in what I call brain draining activities. Do you spend time doing things that are sucking the life out of you? If you do, you need to stop doing them or doing them as minimally as possible. And you want to replace them with brain boosting activities, work you love, people you like hanging out with, hobbies that you like engaging in. And then your brain will be getting dopamine across the day. There will be no need to detox. What you do need to leave behind is the massive floods of dopamine from your pornography and masturbation habit. Yep, you heard me. Masturbation's got to go too, because it's giving your brain artificial amounts of dopamine from high levels of self-stimulation. You do not want to train your brain to need that level of stimulation to become sexually aroused, because if you do, you will not be able to have healthy sexuality with a partner, which is my goal for you. Okay, I hope this helps you out. And if you are looking for help on this journey, please go over to my website at drtrishleigh.com. I have programs in all shapes and sizes to be able to help you, because I am here for you. I would really love to help you out. If you need the techniques, strategies, tools, and support, I have the perfect combination of them to help you succeed. And remember, control your brain or it'll control you.